Hello, beautiful woman. Welcome to this channel. This is all about how to create the most extraordinary relationship with a man in your life. And with that, there is a lot that there is to be spoken about. First and foremost, I'm not a person that's gonna talk about some games to play or tools to use to just create something that looks pretty on the surface. I want to go down to the bottom and really create the relationship that is super fucking juicy and grounded in the pleasure of it. But today I want to go a little bit around the town and not exactly talk about relationship, but first and foremost address something that is to me absolutely necessary to have sorted before I enter any relationship as a woman. There's a lot to be said about the connection to my body. The body is just an incredible tool, and especially so in the world of a woman. There are different types of growth and approach to the world that we have between men and women. And for women, it is very much the embodiment. It is the experience of being in the body here and now. We are the matter, we are the flesh, we are the feelers. We want to feel, touch, sense. We revel in having the sensations of pleasure and joy and just having it so vividly on our skin and experience it and just be in it. It's not being like out there in a 5D, satisfying as well to a degree, but just experiencing here and now. It's so incredible, and there is a lot that happens on monthly basis to us that is so very human and fleshy. Or the menstrual periods or pregnancy, growing a human inside of your body is such a potent human in flesh experience. And all of that is available to us. Full body orgasms, pleasure that you can't even imagine. And experiencing the world through flesh is just our jam, and being in the flow just with the energies, that is our jam. That I personally find that is so satisfying when we really lean into that. That is just something to really be aiming for, to open up, to sense more, to feel more, to really be here now. With that being said, there are many problems that we are facing with that, because truth to be told, there's something to be said about the past in terms of safety for women. There's definitely a lot of programs that are ingrained in ourselves that is not so easy to actually be open in the world and be really in the body, which makes it really complicated. It comes historically, the witch hunts and women being killed for plethora of reasons, being in their magic, our voices being silenced, being overpowered by the male force. It is absolutely the truth that physically we are in a different place than men. And also, if a woman is open sexually, even though we are stepping out of that paradigm, it is still the truth that there are certain risks and certain attention that might not be always welcomed for a woman when you're fully sexual and fully sensual in your body, and you openly interact with the world in that way. I know it from my own experience. In my mind, I can see the world being like that. I can be fully sexual, fully sensual, and like fully playful with everyone. But the truth is, if I do it in reality, I'm gonna get unwanted attention and put myself potentially at risk. So, and that's just the one thing, right? There's another problem is the societal conditioning that we carry, and that's about beauty. What is beautiful, what is not beautiful. That further enforces our relationship with our body being one of judgment and avoidance. We tend to buy into a paradigm of beauty that is slim and symmetrical and so particular that unless you are that, we judge our body and we try to achieve this model-like look. But the truth is that if 4.5 billion of women that are in the world look the same way, it would be a pretty fucking boring world. And there would be no point in the consciousness itself for such an experience to exist. The same way, like, we wouldn't want all the men to look the same because each of us is attracted to something different. And that's the beauty. Even men are attracted to different things, but yet, like, the portrait of the beauty that is pushed upon us challenges us to disconnect from our body, and often that's the paradigm we are brought in, because our mothers and grandmothers also didn't know any different, so they carry the same wounds and we just adopt them, and then it takes quite a bit of effort to change them. And another one that I want to highlight is actually also the lack of knowledge that is passed along these days about what our bodies are really capable of. The knowledge that we genuinely have about the authentic superpowers that our bodies have is very, very narrow. Not many women understand their menstrual cycles. Not many women understand how to work with their energy, how to be grounded, how to they don't have skills to speak the boundaries, to keep themselves safe, to really hone on this power. It's been so suppressed and so kind of, we were so taken away from it historically that now we are just coming back to it. But it's like this little bit of a hard work to establish ourselves again in our center and learn all of these things. So our relationship to our body is really quite a complicated one, but it is so important, because the true intimacy can be only created if we are open and vulnerable. And what I mean by that is basically, if you imagine being in relationship, what often happens, it's both true for men and women in different ways, based on our life experience and based on the stories we know and based on the history and based on our racial upbringing, based on societal conditioning, we have these walls that we put up, right? And they are there to protect us from getting hurt, from being vulnerable, from putting ourselves in danger, right? If as a woman I feel insecure with a man, or like I feel afraid of a man because historically, like, you know, I might know only toxic men, or like in my family someone will hurt me, I will put up a very strong wall that it's going to be almost impenetrable, and I will never allow a man to actually see me unless I really find again the feeling of safety within myself. And that's something that I have to decide to do. That cannot be pushed upon any of us, neither on men. Like, they cannot be pushed to open up. It is the personal willingness to undo these walls, so then we can have phenomenal relationships, because it is quite a different quality of a relationship when you relate whilst you're building the walls and you're keeping the walls in place and you're never wanting to take them down. There is only so much your partner will be able to do with you and what you will be available for. So the level of intimacy and love that we often desire requires us to actually take these walls down. And for those that really dare and want to take all the walls down and are willing to die themselves into the other, then we are talking about things like sacred marriage and divine union. But that's like full ego death, right? For that, like, all of you has to be surrendered and willing to die, to actually merge into something greater. It's quite courageous act to go to that level. But there is a lot of intimacy that can be gained just by removing certain walls. And especially for women, these walls are connected to the safety within our own body. So the relationship to our body is the pathway that can show us the way of how to remove the walls. It is so incredibly important, because maybe you're one of them that's feels like there are some resistances and inhibitions when you come into a relationship. And it can be felt in a body is this level of nervousness and anxiety and fear and contraction. That if there is a contraction, there are resistances and inhibitions, that instead of like us opening ourselves to love, we contract in that moment. And that's where I can watch that something is begging me to actually open, right? This is like a journey of opening to love. It can be a lifelong journey of opening our heart in new and new ways, so that we experience more and more. Every time I crack my heart open, a new reality presents itself. Soon enough, I also realize where can I go next, right? It's like it's never ending joke. But in my body, I can feel the contractions. So if I surrender, or if I succumb to the societal conditioning or to the historical stories, of like men being unsafe, the world being unsafe, like this is how I am, this is what the world is, and I never question these, I stay in this bubble of contraction, and generally we disconnect from our body, so we don't have to feel what is actually not working, right? We don't have to go and make peace with those emotions of fear, of maybe separation, feelings of being abandoned, feelings of being hurt. We are avoiding grief, we are avoiding pain, we are avoiding all that makes us feel unsafe. And we think that if we avoid it and push it away, it's just going to be fine. But the truth is that our bodies somatically hold all of these, and it shows up. You might not be aware of it, but it does show up, and it does limit what we are available for in a relationship. So looking into these and actually through the body, having the peace with the body, and as a woman allowing myself to feel my emotions and going in and being comfortable in the absolute discomfort, like in the states that most scare me, in the taboos, in the stuff that I feel like I'm gonna break, making myself comfortable in that and journeying with my body in that way is absolutely paramount. Because then anytime I go from the disconnection to my body to connection to my body, if I'm disconnected from my body, I cannot feel properly. Like I'm gonna be this walking zombie of a woman. I will not feel my own pleasure. Like I will lose my magnetism. It is the women that just are so, you can see them around, just like overworked, disconnected. They just like in their head, they just function, they're machines. But as per feminine beauty or magnetism, it's not there. It's disappeared. It's just hidden under these layers of disconnection. But for a woman that actually went through these layers and connected to herself again, she feels radiant, she feels free, she feels flowing, she feels confident. When she speaks, she oozes this sensuality. She feels like these women, they feel on their skin so much, where like not only your base and genital area will be pleasurable, but it's like the whole body becomes this orgasmic zone. There is so much available in feeling the world and being ecstatic. It's like ecstatic. We are aiming for ecstatic way of living in every moment. And from there, also the heart opens and we are available to actually be seen, be held, be open to the man. And this is what, like, without the walls, that's what draws men in. It's the true magnetism. There is certainly level of boundaries that we have to hold to not allow any man in to that space, and we hold ourselves within our safety. But then when we do have that, we can also allow the right men in and have the relationships that we truly desire. But it all stems from understanding that I do want to make peace with my body. I do want to go down the path of embodiment and embracing myself, my flow, my movement, my shapes. my sound. Singing is a beautiful form of expression for women. Learning even about the basics, about my womb, about my genitals, about my cycle, knowing that there are 4 seasons, knowing how they influence my functioning in the world, knowing my rhythm in life, knowing myself so deeply and through my body that I can face anything. It's such an invigorating feeling that, like, instead of then having this disconnected experience of being in life and kind of life passing you by, you are in it. You are here and you're experiencing everything, and you fully are in your body. You are embodied, and that is what is the true, one of the most beautiful gateways to be in a feminine body, and what actually creates this ripple effect even towards men. And it is a way how to draw a man into the relationship that you actually desire, and into also his heart openness, rather than push it upon him. That's not going to work. But the magnetism that we have when we open, it's just doing the thing on its own. We're just going at it the wrong way. We're trying to push our ideas and beliefs onto the world, rather than actually going into our body and creating the most amazing beingness of our own, that everything just comes to us. And this is something to wrap a head around. It is something that I am passionate about. Is definitely one of the big components of having satisfying relationships and having endless desire that goes through short-term and long-term relationships. It is just one of the massive building blocks of how to be fully satisfied within myself and fully satisfied in the relationships that I have. So if this is something that absolutely resonates, please subscribe. I'm going to be making videos about the tools that I use, which are self-pleasure, dancing, singing, and yeah, let me take you on a journey.